Alrighty, so we're gonna do this little watercolor worksheet together. So let me show you how this is done. So first and foremost, we're going to want to label our watercolor. This little space up here that I kind of messed up a little bit is where I want you to label things. So I'm just going to abbreviate what the colors are for instead of writing them all out. If you want to write them all out fully, that's fine, but you should have red, orange, orange, yellow, orange, yellow, yellow, green, green, blue, green, blue, blue, violet, violet, and red, violet. So our 12 colors here. So let's start with that. Now, unfortunately for these watercolor, for the watercolor kits I sent home with you, it's not really apparent like which colors are which, so kind of use your best judgment. I would prefer that you don't just use the automatic green and oranges and purples that are in here. I want you to mix them because I want you to actually learn the things. And you're gonna want to use the plastic lid for mixing. That's kind of what that's for. So mix your colors on there. But first I'm gonna start with my primaries and lay out the colors that I have there. So don't be afraid to kind of like dig some water in there. No. All right. Go ahead and paint in the red. Don't get it too watered down. We don't want that. So red, remember clean your brush in between every time you switch colors. And then yellow. And then blue. For the blue, I think I'm going to use this blue here. That, at least in this lighting that I have, that looks to be the most accurate blue. All right, so now I'm going to start and go ahead in with my secondary colors, the orange, the green, and the violet. So I'm going to grab some red, clean your brush, grab some yellow, I want to kind of make a nice even orange, nice carrot orange. I suppose that'll work. It's a little bit more red, I think, than I need, but it'll do the job. Okay, so we've got our orange, and then we clean our brush. And then we're going to go ahead and do our green. So I'm going to grab some yellow. I'm going to use that same blue I was using, but not too much. Blue is a really strong color, so if you use too much, you're going to overpower the yellow way too much. Like, look at that. That's almost like a blue-green. So I have way too much blue in there right now. So I think I'm going to add a little bit more yellow to that. And as you can maybe see, I contaminated my yellow, so my yellow has a little bit of green. Whenever you contaminate your colors, don't let it just stay that way, because that's going to make your life horrible in the future. Just take a little piece of paper towel and just kind of clean it out. Clean out the contamination. There we go. Alright, so now that's a green I want to work with. And green. Alright, and then violet, so I'm going to take my red, And then I'll add a little bit of blue. Remember, not too much blue because blue is very, very strong. All right, sorry. Blue is very, very strong and you don't want to overwhelm it. So it's always best to start a little slow. I guess that's a pretty good purple. All right, then go ahead and paint that in with the V for violet. Okay, so we got that. So I'm gonna work with what I have here, my orange, green, and violet, to paint in my tertiaries, the red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet, red, violet. Always start with the weaker one. So I'm gonna start with the yellow, orange. All right, so I'm gonna take a chunk of my orange out here, and I'm gonna work with half of it for my yellow, orange. So I'm gonna add more yellow to that. You're going for like a mac and cheese color. Yeah, that's pretty decent mac and cheese. Now, something to remember for watercolor is that wherever the paper is wet, the water will flow. Oh, actually that could be a little bit more orangey. So if your colors right next to each other are sopping wet, they're going to bleed into one another. So if you don't want that to happen, you may need to wait a second for them to dry a little bit before you move on. You don't want things to bleed when you don't intend them to do. Okay, so now for my red orange, so I got my orange, so take a little bit of extra red and add that into my orange. So it should have a nice little progression. Now remember, with the color wheel, no two colors can be the same. There needs to be, even if it's just a little difference, there needs to be a difference between each of the colors. All right, so now for my yellow green, so I'm gonna take out, actually I'm gonna grab the yellow first. I'm gonna take out a little bit of the green. Get my yellow green. There we go. Clean your brush. And then I'm taking a little bit of the blue. Mix that with the green for blue-green. You're going for a nice teal color. I think I might add a little bit more blue to it. Okay, now blue-violet, so I got my violet, and I got my red-violet. So I'm gonna take a chunk of my violet. I should have grabbed the red first. That was silly of me. And I'm gonna add a bit more red to the red-violet. Or to the violet to get my red-violet. And last but not least, my blue-violet. So I got my violet here, add a little bit extra blue. Your blue-violet is going to be darker than both your blue and your violet. Your blue-violet should be the darkest. Actually, I'm gonna steal some of this. It's almost like a navy blue kind of, like an indigo. That's kind of what your blue-violet should be. There we go. Okay, so color wheel is done. Yay! Now for the next part, the grayscale. So start with white, actually paint white and slowly add black. So I've modified these worksheets for acrylic, for watercolor, and all that jazz. So actually don't, and if you already did this, it's fine. But for the grayscale, in watercolor, technically, the white comes from the paper. Purists in watercolor will never add white to their paint because that is not good technique. I honestly don't care, but technically speaking, let's not. So go ahead, we're gonna start with the black. So, so since we're not mixing gray, we're letting the white show through more and more and more. So we're gonna have black, like black, black, and then every subsequent square, we're gonna water down the black a little bit more so that it appears gray. And then our last one, just leave that white. Like I said, if you already did this and you're doing it a little differently, that's fine, as long as each square is progressively lighter than the last, it's fine. Okay, so got our black. Why did I just clean my brush? I'm using black again. All right, so I'm actually gonna get a bit more black here. And I'm gonna water down a little bit. If you're not sure, just test a tiny little bit. Okay, I think that'll work. Remember, for watercolor, if you want, like say if you want a pink for watercolor, just water down red a lot. If you want like a baby blue, just water down blue a lot, because the white comes from the paper, not the pigment. All right, so there's a difference there. All right, so I'm just gonna add a little bit more water, just water, to the black that I have here, and hopefully that's a little bit lighter still. And I might need to water that down more because I don't think that's watered down enough. It happens. And you can kind of like, while it's still wet, you can kind of scoop some color out if you think it's a little bit too dark. See? So I just kind of like lighten that a little bit. That technique is called lifting out, and you can either do that with your brush or the paper towel. And I can show you the next one too. All right, so add more water. That was pretty good. All right, so then add a little bit more water. This one I might need to lift out for. No? No? Yeah, that's working out for me. That's working out. All right, and for this one, I know I said to leave it white, but if you want to go ham, I'll just show you how to lift out with the tissue. So, go ahead and paint in that super, super light gray or watered down gray that we got. And right now these would be the same color, which is wrong. Nothing should be the same color. So if I'm gonna take a paper towel and just kind of blot it, gently blot. So when you blot, you're lifting out some of the water and you're lifting out some of the pigment. It's called lifting out. There. So now, nice even grayscale progression. Perfect. All right, I'm gonna clean up my palette a little bit. And actually, oh crap, damn it, I need the black. I'll clean out some of these. Excuse me. Hold on, I'm gonna pause and get clean water and a clean paper towel. All right, I am now back. Clean water, clean paper towel. As you're painting with watercolor, make sure you refresh your water fairly often, because if your water gets super dirty, that will affect your colors. You wanna keep your water clean. All right, next part of this worksheet. So shades, pick one color and slowly add black. each circle should be slightly darker than the one before it. So in art, shade means to add black. Tone means to add gray. Tint means to add white, just so you know. So, I think I'm gonna pick this nice little baby blue over here. I think that's kind of a pretty color. So, in my first circle, I'm going to paint that blue color here. Now, what I'm going to do, watercolor works a little bit differently than other colors, or than other paints. So in watercolor, there's this technique called glazing. And glazing is when you have one color beneath and you add a really thin layer of another color on top. So you can still see this color that you put down first, but the color on top affects how we see the two colors together. So we're going to do that for this. So what we're going to do actually is we're going to paint all of these blue first. And then we're going to slowly add a darker and darker layer of black on top. So. And you can use a different color than me, just for the record. You don't have to use the same colors. Whatever color you want. Although don't use black. That should be kind of obvious. All right, got that. Go ahead and clean your brush. Now, I already have like a little bit of black here left over from when I did the grayscale. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start by heavily watering down. So unlike the other, doing the grayscale where I start with black, I'm going to start with my lightest gray that I possibly can and then work darker. I think that'll be a little bit easier. And I'm going to leave this one with a thicker outline. Leave this one the color that it is. Leave that alone. Don't touch it. We did it. Don't touch it. So for this one, I'm just going to gently add a little bit of black. And I know that my color here is not fully dry yet. Normally in glazing, you would wait until that color is dry. But I'm impatient, and it is after school. I want to go home. Okay. Actually, I'm going to wait. I lied. I'm going to wait to finish these and let those dry first so I can actually do it better and show you. And I'm going to come back to this. I'm going to skip and go to this one next. So instead, complementary colors and a neutral. So you're going to have one complement here, and neutral in the center. Complementary colors are colors that are directly across from each other on the color wheel. So red and green are complementary colors. Yellow and violet are complementary colors. Blue and orange, complementary colors. Blue, violet, yellow, orange. Oop. Red, orange, and blue, green. So anything that is directly across on the color wheel is a complementary color. I think I'm going to stick with the classics of green and red. And I'm going to be lazy and I'm not going to mix these colors. I'm just going to lay them down. So we got a nice red on one side. For the record, it doesn't matter what side you paint which color on. So we got that. And we got our green. Red on one side, green on the other. So, what we're going to do then is we're gonna make a neutral. So a true neutral will be kind of like either like a brown or a gray. So we're gonna get a little bit of green. We're gonna get a little bit of red. And we're gonna slowly mix them until we get kind of brown in the center. So always mix on your palette. Don't mix on the don't mix on the paper. Always mix on the palette. So I'm gonna take a little bit of red. Green is stronger than red, so it won't need as much green to get to a brown. And if you need to test it, you can like test it down here just to see. I think that looks a little bit too red, so I'm gonna add a little bit more green. Neutral colors cancel, or like complementary colors cancel each other out. So I'm gonna add a little bit more green because that was a little bit too red. Your neutral in the center shouldn't be too red, shouldn't be too green, or whatever complements you're using. It should just kind of be like is. That's pretty good. It's like a nice even brown. There we go. Voila. Now remember, you don't have to use the same colors as me. You could use yellow and violet, or a blue and a green. Sorry, not blue and a green, blah, 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 blah. Blue and an orange. And then you would slowly mix those two colors together until you got a nice even brown in the center. All right, let's do this again. So I'm gonna add a little bit more black. Whoa, maybe too much. Actually, like this one's still wet, but this one's all dry. So I'm gonna start on this one. So I am living dangerously here. All right, so I'm gonna add like just like a little layer of black over this one. Watercolor is naturally a transparent color, so glazing is really easy for watercolor. Okay, so there's my, so I have to get lighter from here. So water that down a little bit. Remember, no two circles should be the same. If two circles are the same color, it's wrong. If two boxes are the same gray, it's wrong. If two colors right next to each other are the same, it's wrong. They should all be different. There we go. Oop. Looks like I got a little bit too heavy my black on that one. So I'm just gonna lift out. And for the record, you can only lift out when the pigment's wet. Biscuits. I have to like redo this one because the black lifted out, the blue lifted out. It's just a mess. Maybe I shouldn't have glazed. Whatever. It's too late now. There we go. And for this one, I might also, well, actually there's not enough. This can be a little bit darker. I probably just went too dark. Arrgh. Yes, I am struggling. Thank you for asking. That's a little bit better. There. And then this one's fine. So now I have like the color by itself, tiny bit of black, a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, blah, 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 blah. a little bit more. So I have a nice even progression. And there, that is how you do this worksheet. Just if you mess up in an area, like let's say I couldn't get this color to act right, to be what I wanted it to be, just paint it down here. Just like cross this off and paint it down here. Or if you accidentally flip-flop some colors, just like draw little flip-flop arrows so I know, you know, spell it out for me here. All right, that's all. Please let me know if you have any questions or need help. Till next time.